Hello, Colin.
Hello, Anne. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm really happy to see you now because you are in the middle of a good run. Like all these movies that are going well.
But yeah, am I? What have I?
Well, here we're talking ostensibly about the Lobster.
Yeah, the Lobster seemed to work out.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Why do you say that so tentatively?
No. It did. It just did. It did.
It seemed like a risk to you.
I mean, it's always kind of a risk. I've done things that were supposed to be guaranteed to have a certain success, or and things where money was thrown at the budget, and the budgets were large and inflated, and they were supposed to find an audience and they didn't. Or I've done, smaller things that weren't particularly strong on the page, but they came out beautifully and didn't find an audience. But you just never know. There's so many.
That horrible sound was me closing the window.
There's so many iterations of how a film can work out, and you just never know. Someone was asking me earlier, when you're working on a film, do you have expectations, and it's like, no, never. There's too many moving parts, and there's too many things that have to take place between the moment where a script is written and completed, and then the moments that take place thereafter where it's brought to life. There's too many opinions, there's too many tastes, there's too many choices of camera angles and sizes of shots, and you remake the film completely in the edit. You shoot the film and then it becomes something else in the edit. And so I never expect, but you hope that things work out. And
have you learned how to avoid the big mistakes, though?
No.
No, I mean there isn't some, like, if you have to put on a period costume and wield a sword.
That would be fair.
That would be.
Well, that would be fair. That would be if I judged it on.
Or if they make you dye your hair blonde.
Well, I don't know that I'll be going blonde again. Although I might go blonde, but I would make sure my roots were done. That was the problem.
It makes me crazy because that was a good movie, actually. Alexander, the final version.
It was such an easy target.
But the
hair made it such an easy target.
No one could let it go.
Such an easy target.
Look at you. You're the blackest Irishman who ever lived.
Yeah. No, I've got some Spaniard in me. It was such an easy target. It was low-lying fruit. And all the arguments about people up in arms about, like the Greeks really had Irish accents. Well, they didn't have American accents. They didn't have English accents. Anything outside of talking in period Greek.
It was when Anthony Hopkins, I think it was him, was putting English up on the tiles.
Yeah. No, I know. Sacrilege.
Come on.
Sacrilege. But then what do you do? Do you put Greek on the tiles and then speak in English? It's never going to make sense unless you do it in Greek. Everything's Greek and you have subtitles, and that's never going to happen on a $120 million film.
But you're working with a Greek director now.
I am. And there was minimal Greek on the set. Only between him and Thimios, his DP, they'd go off in the corner and start babbling to each other where none of us could understand. But I loved The Lobster. Did it feel like a risk? Actually, probably the material, people, I could understand somebody going, oh, it was a risky or it was a bold choice, but if anything, having seen Dogtooth and Alps, it was less of a risk than the majority of films I've done, because his work is so strong. I felt from day one.
Tell me something about how you could tell that. In other words, because what he accomplished with The Lobster was creating this seamless alternate universe.
He did that with Dogtooth, I felt, albeit it was a tighter universe. It was a smaller universe, fewer amount of players, more contained. It was the same thing. It was a social structure and a behavioural structure that was imposed in Dogtooth upon a family, and in The Lobster upon a community, upon a world, upon a society. But it was the same thing. It was somebody who is interested, to me, in the push and pull of what it is to be a human being, in the loneliness, in how we learn through example and through observation, in how we follow or break rules, in whether rules serve us or are a disservice to us. If a certain amount of anarchy is a service at a certain stage, does that anarchy then become, it's like saying revolutionaries are good at one thing, they're good at tearing things down. They're not good at building things up. And so you have the loners who are in the forest and they've rebelled against the system, the kind of draconian and dogmatic system of the hotel, but then they're so filled with loathing for that they overshoot the mark, and they become just as horrific in how they explicitly dictate to their followers the rules of their world. And so how did I know I was in good hands? I felt I was in good hands because when I saw the Dogtooth, I saw a film that was about as specific in how it was shot, in how awkward some of the framing was, in the performances, and in the overall concept of the film. I just thought to pull it off and to have a film that was as disturbing and seemingly quote unquote unnatural as that, and then you hear the story of Albert Fritzl, and you go, well, what is nature? Is nature just, when we say something is unnatural, we like to cast what we don't like as unnatural, but there's an argument that we're only calling it unnatural because we don't like it, and we like to think of human nature as something that exists morally above the animal kingdom, but maybe it doesn't exist as morally apart from the animal kingdom as we'd like to think. I still aspire to believe that it does, it can, and it should, and that's what we should reach for. But I saw Dogtooth and I thought, God, I mean, I was in Philadelphia, it was a Tuesday night, and I saw the film and I came out of the theatre going, who made that? That was extraordinary. And what mind created that?
So how did you and he get together?
Years later, 4 years after seeing Dogtooth, I got a call from the agent saying, did you ever see the film Dogtooth? And I said, oh, I did. I said, oh, that film stayed with me. And he said, well, the director's making his first English language film and he wants to Skype with you. And I said, cool. And he said, we're going to send you the script. He said, I'm not sure it's going to be what we're looking for, but it's really strong stuff. And I read it and I was kind of like, oh boy. I found it confusing, to be honest with you. I mean,
here you are, this absolutely stunning, handsome man, and you're going to be playing this real loser, real overweight, pudgy, sort of sad guy. Well, and yet you did it in such a way that we were totally with him.
I've got overweight, pudgy, and sad inside me. I think we all are variations on each other in greater or lesser degrees, and that's why I don't think really there's many characters that you can find that you can completely disavow yourself of your ability to relate to, no matter how horrific they are. I think there's, I think there's maybe presumptuous and we just met, but I don't think there's anything maybe that you've felt in your life that I haven't felt at least a tinge of.
As a woman, you think too?
I think feelings take a different form or a different context. But I think feelings, fear, emotion, hope, outsiderness, otherness, disenfranchisement, love, anger, rage, I think all these things we all feel, they are birthed in different ways, sometimes regarding on socioeconomic origins, regarding gender, sexuality, religious belief, whatever it may be. But I think we all are variations on each other. So playing David, when I read him, I mean, it was... some of my friends saw the film, The Lobster, and they were like, Jesus, didn't get it. I'm sure it's good, but fuck, didn't get it, Some of my mates from Dublin, but they're the ones that kind of loved SWAT and all, and they're kind of like,
They're appealing to different
constituencies. Exactly. And they're saying, and I could understand somebody not getting it, because it's just unusual. I could understand where they're coming from. And
it's an art film.
Yeah, but they had the visual realization of it. When I read it in script form, I couldn't see the world. I couldn't imagine it, because the behaviors were so counter to what we're used to in the varieties of conventional responses to each other and behaviors we have around each other. They were so separate. It was so unusual. And I couldn't imagine how you could be natural, or how you would inhabit, how I was going to inhabit that world. But I felt it was in good hands. It comes back to that. I really did. I really, from the start, just trusted in Yorgos's vision. And he's very economical with his speech, Yorgos, and he's very, very methodical in how he is on a set. And he's very detail-oriented, and he's really both a student and a master.
So you're doing his next one?
Finished. Another
it's
one
all done?
Yeah, a month ago.
And what's that
it makes
like?
The Lobster seem It makes The Lobster seem like a kid's movie.
Bigger budget then? Bigger scale?
No, same budget. It's amazing what you can get for 4 to 5 million, It's amazing. Same budget, and we shot it in Cincinnati, and it won't feel like a small film, I don't think. There's no reason why it should, but the themes are just as provocative and just as specific and yet broad in regards to the panoply of the human experience as The Lobster or Dogtooth. But just bleak. Like, it was just bleak. It really was. I mean, it is just a Greek tragedy on steroids set in a contemporary world. So we finished that a month ago, and I loved it, and I was ready to be done with it by the time we were finished. I think everyone was.
What character were you playing?
I play a cardiothoracic surgeon.
Okay.
Who's got quite a successful career and is highly esteemed and somewhat full of his own importance, who has a very kind of questionable event that took place in his recent enough history that kind of comes back to haunt him somewhat. And yeah, it toys with the ideas of the fates and of responsibility and the idea of past transgressions catching up with us in the guise of the fates playing a part in all of our paths. And I loved it. I love Yorgos. He's an extraordinary filmmaker. I just don't know anyone like him.
All right. You're also working with Ms. Coppola on this remake of the Clint Eastwood movie, which is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? I mean, I saw
it. You must have seen it.
I've seen it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, and she wants to.
That's a great part.
It's a great part. I don't know what because I start on Monday. I'm excited about it.
So that's why you're getting thin for that.
Yeah, because I put on a few more pounds for the Sacred Deer one, the other Yorgos one. I haven't had much time because we only wrapped like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So yeah, that's why I've been doing that nonsense. But it's good. Sophia went back to the book, and she adapted the book herself, and it's really strong script, highly dramatic, very dark again.
So this guy who's like a strapping soldier, is it the same thing?
The soldier, same period, Civil War. You know, gets taken and carried and finds himself in this nest of repressed and
vengeful
women ultimately vengeful.
It's like a male nightmare.
It really is. And I remember when Eileen, my manager, said, "Don't know if you're gonna like it. I don't know if you're gonna want to go where it goes." But I didn't see. It's like, I mean, yes, short of being literally castrated, it culminates in, you know, the greatest act of emasculation that I'll probably experience on film.